Hello everyone, welcome you all. In the today's video, we are going to see few important topics from Selenium WebDriver. So one is how to handle slider, and then we'll see how to find the location and the size of the web element. Then we will see what is the difference between actions class and action interface, and what is the difference between build and perform methods. Now let us start with the slider element. So normally, sometimes you can see the slider element on the web pages. So here I'm taking a small slider element in this particular page. And normally you can see this kind of sliders in the e-commerce applications when you're choosing the prices like minimum price and maximum price. So you can just drag like this, and you can also select the maximum price by dragging this element. So this is a normally a slider we can call, or we can say range slider. Now let us see how we can handle this. So just I want to move from here to here, and I want to move from here to here like this. So let us see how we can handle this. And in the same example, I will also show you how to find the location and size of the web elements. So let's go to Eclipse, and this is my Maven project which is already created. So inside the pom.xml, I already added WebDriver Manager dependency along with the Selenium Java dependency. So both the dependencies are added. Now in my package, so I'm just going to create a new class and right click on my package and create a new class. I'll name it as a slider and take this main method and then finish. So to handle the slider, and if I just look at here, we need to perform the drag and drop option, drag and drop action. So in the previous video, we have seen how to perform the different type of mouse operations, like by using actions class methods. Similarly, here also we need to use one of the actions class method to drag and drop like this. Okay. So now let us see how we can handle. So as a first step, let us start creating the browser setup and then launch the browser, then open the application, and then we'll proceed further. So for that, what I can do is I'll start with the WebDriver Manager, and inside the WebDriver Manager we have something called Chrome driver, and I'm calling setup method. So this will set up the Chrome browser, and we no need to specify the driver paths. And then I'll create the WebDriver instance. I say WebDriver driver equal to new Chrome driver. All right, so now I have created WebDriver instance. Now import this WebDriver and also import this Chrome driver class. Now by using this driver instance, I'm just going to call get method, and here I have to pass the URL of the application. So this is application URL which I have sent, and I'll try to maximize the page. So for that I can use driver dot manage dot window dot maximize. So this will maximize the page. And now, so here there are two things are there. So when you refresh the page once again, so this is a starting point, this is an ending point, and the first slider, this is we have to use to select the minimum price, and this we can use to select the maximum price. Okay, so first of all, we will see where exactly these two elements are located. Okay, so here we need to work with x and y coordinates. So by using x and y coordinates, accordingly we have to move the sliders. And if I want to exactly know what exactly location we have for these sliders, we can just add one simple plugin called dimensions, measure dimension. This small plugin which is available for Chrome browser, and you can just Google it. I say dimension extension for Chrome. So when I search for this, and you can just start install this particular dimensions extension to Chrome browser, that will show you exactly where elements are present in your web page. So this is actual extension which I already added. So once you add it, it will show you in the address bar here. And how we will know is, suppose this is a slider which we have currently. So I want to know the location of this. I want to know x and y coordinates of this element. So simply what you can do is just click on this measure dimensions, and you can just show that element. Just place the element like this. Now you can just look at here, and 59, that is the x coordinate, and 979 is a y coordinate. Similarly, if I put the cursor here, this will show you location. 3116 is a x coordinate, and 173 is a y coordinate. So accordingly we can just check the locations, and this is a which is extension which is available for, which will be very useful for us. All right, so now let us see how we can move this slider one place to another place, and similarly this one. Okay, so go back to the Eclipse, and first of all, let's start with this one, minimum one, and then we'll go with the next one. So first, let's inspect this element. So this part, this element we have to inspect. So this one we have to inspect. Now, if I just look at this selector hub, which will give you XPath, capture that XPath of that slider, and I'm storing that in one variable. I'll say driver dot find element by dot XPath, specify that XPath. So this is a one element. I'll just call them as minimum slider, min slider, and this is a web element. Okay, this is a web element. Now import this. All right, so I got the minimum slider. So if I want to know exactly the location of this slider, where exactly which is located, and the size of the element, this is also element, right? If you want to know size or location, we have certain methods are available, and these methods you can use it for any other elements, not only the slider element. You can use for logos, you can use for input box, checkbox, whatever element it is. Just we can find the location where exactly it is placed on the web page, and what is the size of the web element. So to do this, we can use this web element dot, there is a method called get location. So this particular method will return the point object, that means x and y coordinates of the element. Now let me just print this value. So minimum slider dot get location, so I can just write some message here, the location of the minimum slider, and then I'm printing that location. Okay, now let us see what is the current position of this minimum slider on the web page. Now let me just execute, run as, and we can also find the size of this element. So for that, what you can do is take this element and dot, there is a method called get size. So this will give you the dimensions like height and width of the element. So that also I can capture. So here I can print, so height and width of the element, and just printing this. So we don't need to do, we no need to have these values so to drag and drop. So just for your understanding, I'm just getting the location and size of the element. So we're not going to use these values for dragging the slider. Okay, so I'm just printing those values. So get location, get size. So these two methods you can use for any kind of element, not only the slider. So you can get the location and size of any kind of elements which are displayed on your web page. All right, so let's try to execute here. And once you understand the location and size, then we will try to drag and drop. Now it is launching my Chrome driver and launched my browser. Now observe this, it is just maximized and still we haven't dragged this slider. So currently this is the location. Okay, this is the current location of the slider. This statement is written this one. And this is the size of the element. So height and width of the element. Okay, so now what we will do is, now we'll try to drag that element. So the first slider, the minimum slider, whatever we have, I want to drag like this a little bit more. So if I want to drag this, this is basically mouse action. So we have to use actions class methods. So for that, what I will do is I can create one actions class object, or actions is a class. For that, I'm creating one instance variable, new actions, and we have to pass the driver instance in it. So we have to import this actions class from org.openqr.selenium.interactions. All right, so once you create an actions class instance, now what you have to do is take this instance dot act object dot, there is a method called drag and drop by. So earlier we have seen how to use drag and drop. So when we have to go drag and drop, if you know the source and target locations, if you want to drag and drop, you can use that method. Now drag and drop by. So this is the method which I have to use. Drag and drop by. So here we have to specify the element and x axis location or x offset and y offset, like x coordinate and y coordinates we have to specify. So source means element. So this is the element I want to move. And what is an x offset? Previously actual the location is x, this is x and this is a y. So 59 is a X, 251 is a Y. So previously in the 59th position, it is there. That's the default location. Now I want to just move to still 100 pixels more. Let's say 100 here. And Y offset, previously it is there and it will be the same. Let's say 251, or you can just make it as a 0, the default value. So because we don't have a y-axis here, only is dragging towards the x-axis, not in the y-axis. Okay, so it will be like this, guys. So when I say x and y-axis, so it will be like this. So this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. So this element we are not moving towards the y direction, so we are moving this element towards the x direction. So only x-axis or x coordinates will be increased and y coordinates will be the remains the same. Okay, now let us see how it is going to move. And I say 100 and 0. And once it is done this and drag and drop by dot, we have to end with the perform. So when I say perform, so internally build dot perform will be executed. So the action will be completed. So after completion of this action, and then again, I want to get the location of the slider and the size of the sliders. So after movement, after moving the slider, okay. Now let us try to execute and see. So it started my browser, launching my application URL. Now you can see it is moved somehow. So from here to here. And if I just go back, now I can see previously it was 59. So now we have moved to 100. So means we have moved 100 pixels more, and then it becomes a 158. Okay. And y-axis is still same. Okay, y-axis same, and element size is also exactly the same. Element size is not changed. Okay, so this is how we can just drag and drop the slider element. And similarly, if I just look at the if I look at the another slider, so this one maximum, so I want to just decrease this value. So this is a maximum and I want to reduce this one. So how we can handle this? Let us inspect this element also and get the XPath of the element. Let me open this in another browser and let me get the locator of this maximum slider, inspect that element and go to the selector hub, get the XPath, and now go back to the Eclipse. And now I'm talking about the maximum slider. So this is, I'll name it as a max underscore slider, max underscore slider equal to driver dot find element by dot XPath and specify the XPath. And I'm stored this in one more variable, max underscore slider. This is a web element. Okay, this is a web element. Now I want to move this. So we already created actions class object. I'm using act dot. Again, same method, drag and drop by. And which one is the source element? Maximum slider. And X offset and Y axis. So Y offset, so let it be 0 default, and X offset. So we have to reduce this. Let me just open this website one more time. Okay, so I want to just reduce this like this. So to reduce this, what I will do is uh, I'll try to reduce the x-axis. So x offset I want to try to minus. I'll say minus. Let's reduce it to 100, and y-axis value 0. Only x coordinate value I am reducing. So after reducing, we will see how much it is reduced. So now you can see right click, run as a Java application. Now Chrome driver was started successfully, launching my application. So now we can just notice. So the first one is already moved, but second one still not moved. Now we'll see the what is the problem, because we haven't applied this method drag and drop by. We haven't specified the perform method. That's the reason perform is required. So perform is which will complete the action. It will build and complete the action. So perform is mandatorily required. So let me run one more time, run as Java application. So Chrome driver started successfully, launching my application. Now you can just notice here. So now the first one and the second, both the sliders are moved. So the first one we have increased, but the second one we have reduced. So that's the reason I have given minus value here. Okay, so this is how we can just handle the slider element by using drag and drop by method. And we have two more methods like get location, get size. Get location is a method which will give you the location of the element. Get size is a method which will give you the size of the element, and these two methods you can use for any other elements. And for sliding we can use drag and drop by method, which is comes from the actions class. Okay, so this is all about how to handle slider and how to find the location and size of the web element. Now we will see the what is the difference between actions and action, and build method and perform method. Very, very important entry question. So what is the difference between actions and actions? So while writing your code, especially when you perform the mouse related operations, normally we use actions class. Actions is a predefined class which is available in Selenium WebDriver. But what about the action? So action is a interface. Action is a interface. Now I'll show you where exactly we use actions and where exactly we use action interface. Now let me show you one example for that to understand the difference between actions and actions. And along with that, I will also show you the difference between build and perform. Now go back to the Eclipse. I'll create one more script. Go to the my place class, and action versus actions. Take this main method and say finish. Now let me just set up the browser and other stuff. Okay, let me just copy from my previous code. All right, so I'm just copying this much. All right, so now I created WebDriver manager.chrome.setup and driver instance, and here I'm trying to launch one application. Let us try to launch this application, automationpractice.com. Remove the double quotation. Okay, so here I just want to go and mouse over on this woman. Okay, I just want to go and just mouse over on this. Fine. So what I want to do is I just launch this application in the get method and maximize this page. So as soon as I maximized it, and then I'll get this woman link, inspect that element. I just perform the mouse over action, just understand this. So get the selector hub and get the element, so which is XPath I'm capturing for that element, and store that element in a variable. I'll say driver dot find element by dot XPath, specify the XPath. This is a web element, and I'm storing that in one more variable. I say web element, and I say this is a I can just say something called features. Okay, so some element or feature element. So women. Okay, so now import this web element org-openq.selenium. So now what I want to do is I want to perform the mouse over action on this features element. Okay, I want to perform the mouse over action on the features element. So how to perform the mouse over action? Normally we use a actions class object, right? Actions act equal to new actions. Understand this? I am passing the driver instance here. So import this actions class and action. So now we already know about this one. So actions is a class. We created one instance, and I'm passing the driver instance as a argument to the actions constructor. So immediately what you will do is take this actions class object dot, and we have a method called move to element, right? So I'll say move to element. I can pass the target element, that is a features. That's it. So this particular statement dot perform, I'm saying. So dot perform. So when I say this one, this particular statement will perform the mouse over action. So let us try to execute. It will just place the mouse on that particular element. So let us see. It is starting my Chrome browser, and it clearly notice here it is launching my application URL. And observe this maximized. See now, as soon as my mouse cursor is placed on the woman, so which is showing the all the options in the sub menus, right? So this is a mouse over action I have performed. Now if I just look at here, perform method I'm calling. So act dot move to element features dot perform. So some people will write the same statement like this. Instead of perform, they use a build command. Build, and along with the build, they use a perform like this. Okay, perform or build.perform. So now we need to understand here the difference between perform and build.perform. So if I just look at here, when I say only perform, when you inspect this perform method and just click on the perform and see the implementation inside the perform, what exactly they are calling build.perform. So when I call perform method internally, what happens? Build.perform. So action will be built and then will be created. So action will be created and then action will be completed by perform method. So build.perform method is calling. So when I call only perform method internally, build.perform method is calling. Now, if I just look at this one, instead of calling perform, I can directly use build.perform, right? Because perform method is also internally calling build.perform. So you can use either only perform or you can directly write build.perform. Anything is fine. So the difference between perform and the build is the perform internally calling build.perform method. Okay. So if I just write build.perform, what happens is build method is calling 2 times, because in the perform also there is a build.perform. So this is a one build and inside the perform there is one more build. So build method is calling 2 times. So that's the reason instead of writing this build.perform, you can just write only dot perform. So internally it will call build.perform method. So that is the basic difference between build and perform. So perform includes the build.perform. But when I say only build, which will not perform actually, which will return an action element. Now I'll show you where exactly we use action interface. Action is a basically interface, actions is a class. Now here, I hope you understand what is the difference between perform and build.perform. You can use this one or you can use this one. So let us try to execute this now. Build.perform also do the same thing. So mouse over action. So Chrome driver was started successfully and launching my application, placing the mouse on the woman. So now mouse over action is completed. So now one more time here. So I just use build.perform. So if I just understand what is the difference between this one and this one, build is a method which will return an action. Suppose if I don't specify the perform here. So what build will be returned when I place here, action interface will be returned. The return type of the build method is action. It will just return that action, but it will not perform the action. Okay, it is just returning the action. So before performing the action, if you want to store this action in some variable, suppose what I want to do is I don't want to complete this action, but I want to store this action in some other variable. So in that case, I'll use action interface action. So act equal to, so act is already created actions as object. So I can give just a different name. Let's say action. Okay, so action is the interface which we have to import from org.openqa.selenium.interactions. Okay, this is a interface, but actions is a class. So actions is a class which contains a different type of methods, whereas action is an interface, and the variable of action interface can be stored an action. So if I just look at here, build will return the action. Build will just return the action. So it is moving to this element. Mouse over action is done. And the action mouse over is a one action actually. So that action will be written by the build. So that action I am storing into the variable called action. And to complete this action, what I have to do is, again, we have to use perform method, action.perform method. Okay. So this is how we can use action interface. So actions is a class, action is an interface. So build will just create an action and perform method will complete that action. So here we have just created an action and which will return that action and storing that into action variable. And to complete that action, we have to use perform method again. So action.perform. So that is the difference between build and perform, and actions and action. So actions is a class, action is interface. Perform will complete the action, build will return that action. Okay, so they are the differences, very, very important in questions. So please focus on this. Now let us try to execute the code and it will perform the same thing. and launching my application, and then it will perform the mouse over action as usual. All right, so that's it. So this is all about how to handle the slider we have seen, and how to find the location and size of the web element. Then we have seen what is the difference between actions class and action interface. And also we have seen the difference between build and perform. All right. So that's all for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see in the next video.